She captured memories she never stepped into, a ghost in her own life, a director of a film where she was never cast. Her name was Alara, and her camera was an extension of her soul. Through its lens, she saw the world in vibrant, breathtaking detail. She recorded the golden hour spilling over city rooftops, the shared laughter between friends over coffee, the quiet intimacy of a couple walking hand in hand through a park. She captured the fleeting, beautiful moments that made up the lives of others. A hard drive was a library of joy, a mosaic of connections, an archive of a life she observed but never truly lived. Every frame was perfectly composed, every color meticulously graded. She was an artist, a documentarian of the human experience. Friends would praise her work, marveling at how she could see so much beauty in the mundane. "Elara, you have such an eye," they'd say, their faces glowing on her screen. They'd tag her in posts, sharing the memories she had so carefully preserved for them. Her digital footprint was vast, a web of moments she had witnessed. But if you searched for her, really looked for Alara in the pixels and data, you'd find nothing. No selfies, no accidental reflections in a window, no voice in the background. It was as if she had mastered the art of invisibility. This wasn't a conscious decision at first. It started subtly. She was the friend who always offered to take the group photo. "You guys get in, I'll take it," she'd say with a smile, stepping back behind the lens. It was easier. That way, she felt awkward in front of the camera, unsure of how to pose, how to smile. Behind it, she was in control. She could orchestrate the scene, find the best light, and capture everyone else at their most authentic. She told herself she was performing a service, giving her friends the gift of perfect memories, but a gift she never gave herself. As years went by, the habit solidified. Her camera became a shield. At parties, she'd weave through the crowd, her lens, her passport, her excuse for not having to engage in small talk. At family gatherings, she documented the chaos and the love, but always from the periphery. She recorded her niece's first steps, her brother's wedding vows, her parents' silver anniversary dance. She was present. She was there. But was she? Her memories weren't her own experiences. They were clips on a timeline, sequences she could edit, color correct, and set to music. Life wasn't something she felt. It was something she watched on a playback screen. One rainy Tuesday, while editing footage from a weekend trip with friends, a strange feeling washed over her. She watched them on her monitor, laughing, splashing in the lake, telling stories around a campfire. She could hear their voices, see the genuine happiness in their eyes. She had been there. She had felt the cool water, smelled the wood smoke, heard the punchlines to their jokes. But watching the video, it felt like a movie she'd seen, not a memory she'd lived. There was no proof she was ever there. A hollow ache bloomed in her chest. For all the terabytes of data she had accumulated, there was no file for Alara's joy. That night, she couldn't sleep. She scrolled through years of her own social media feed. It was a beautiful gallery of other people's lives. Sunsets, cityscapes, portraits of friends, candid shots of strangers. It was impressive, even artistic, but it was empty. It was a house with no one living inside. She was the curator of a museum dedicated to everyone but herself. The realization hit her with the force of a physical blow. She wasn't just the girl who recorded everything. She was the girl who was slowly erasing herself from her own story. The next morning, Elara did something she hadn't done in years. She left her camera at home. The world felt unnervingly raw, unfiltered. Without the frame of the viewfinder, everything seemed too big, too loud, too bright. Her hands felt empty, twitching for the familiar weight of her camera. She walked to a small cafe, her heart pounding with a strange mix of fear and excitement. She ordered a coffee and sat by the window, watching the world go by, not as a series of potential shots, but just as life. It was hard. Her instinct was to frame the scene. The barista's focused expression, the way the steam curled from a fresh pastry, but she resisted. She forced herself to just be, to feel the warmth of the ceramic mug in her hands, to taste the bitterness of the coffee, to listen to the low hum of conversation around her. It was imperfect. The lighting was harsh. The angles were all wrong, but it was real. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't observing a moment. She was in Italiano. A few days later, her friend Maya called. "Hey, we're all going for a hike this Saturday. You have to come and bring your camera. The view is going to be amazing. Elara's stomach twisted. The old habit. The old comfort. Kajet toer. It would be so easy to say yes, to slip back behind the lens and become invisible again. She took a deep breath. I'll be there, she said, her voice steadier than she expected. But Maya, I'm leaving my camera at home this time. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Oh, Maya said. A little surprised. Okay. But who's going to take the pictures? Elara smiled, a genuine, unpracticed smile. I don't know, she replied. Maybe we'll just have to remember it. That Saturday, the hike was a revelation. Without her camera, Elara's senses were on high alert. She noticed the texture of the moss on the rocks, the scent of pine in the air, the sound of her own breathing as she climbed. She talked with her friends, not about angles or lighting, but about their lives, their dreams, their silly fears. She laughed, a loud, uninhibited laugh that came from her belly. At the summit, as they all stood looking out at the sprawling valley, Maya pulled out her phone. Okay, group photo time, she announced.
Elara, get in here.
For a split second, Elara froze. The old impulse to step back, to offer to take it, rose up. But then she looked at her friends, their arms open, a space saved just for her, and she stepped in. The photo was terrible. The sun was in their eyes. Someone was half blinking, and the angle was all wrong. It was nothing like the polished, perfect images Elara would have taken. But as she looked at it later, a saved image on her phone, she saw something she hadn't seen in years. She saw herself, awkwardly squeezed between two friends, her hair a mess from the wind, squinting against the sun, but with a real, undeniable smile on her face. She was there. She was in the frame. The memory wasn't a clip to be edited. It was a feeling, a warmth that spread through her. Elara still loves her camera. She still captures the beauty she sees in the world. But now, she's learned to put it down. She's learned that some moments aren't meant to be recorded. They're meant to be lived. She still takes group photos, but now, she always makes sure to hand the camera to someone else for a turn. She's started a new folder on her hard drive. It's messy, full of blurry selfies, out-of-focus shots, and videos with shaky hands, and her own laughter ringing in the background. It's not her most artistic collection, but it's her most precious. It's the file labeled me, because she finally understood that the most important story you can ever tell is your own. And to do that, you have to be willing to step into the frame. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, maybe it's a little reminder to not just capture the moment, but to live it too. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.